John and Emily Sanders had been married for 8 years. Life in suburban Ohio had been busy but comfortable. John worked as a software engineer. Emily ran a small interior design business from home, and their 2 kids, Lily, 7, and Max, 5, kept them on their toes. Despite the routine of work, school, and weekend errands, John and Emily always made time for small rituals: Sunday morning pancakes, Friday night movie marathons, and bedtime stories. As spring arrived, the family planned their first big vacation of the year, a week-long trip to Colorado to explore the mountains, lakes, and charming small towns. The air buzzed with anticipation. John felt a mix of excitement and relief at the thought of leaving the daily grind behind, while Emily meticulously organized every detail of the trip, from packing lists to scenic stops along the way. Even in these planning moments, the Sanders marriage felt strong. They laughed together over the kids' silly antics, shared quiet moments of affection, and communicated openly about their hopes for the trip. For John, it was more than a vacation. It was a chance to reconnect with Emily and his children in a way that everyday life rarely allowed. The morning of their departure was filled with cheerful chaos. John loaded the car with suitcases while Emily chased after Lily and Max, ensuring they each had their favorite snacks, toys, and travel pillows. The kids giggled and argued over who got the window seat, and John couldn't help but smile at their energy. It reminded him why these trips mattered so much. Once on the road, the family settled into a rhythm. John drove, Emily navigated, and the kids alternated between singing along to songs and pressing their noses against the windows, marveling at the passing scenery. The highway stretched before them, lined with budding trees and golden fields, a stark contrast to the gray suburbs they'd left behind. For John, the drive became a quiet meditation. He watched Emily in the passenger seat, her eyes bright with excitement as she read aloud facts about the stops they'd make, and he felt a surge of gratitude. Life often felt rushed, but here, in this moving cocoon of family and laughter, time seemed to stretch. He realized how rare it was to have days like this, unrushed, unplanned, full of small joys. Even the kids' squabbles became part of the music of the journey. Every laugh, every playful argument, every shared snack felt like a thread weaving the family closer together. By the time the sun began to dip in the west, John felt an unspoken contentment, knowing this trip would be remembered not for the destinations, but for the shared moments along the way. By late afternoon, the Sanders family reached their first stop, a small mountain town tucked between pine-covered hills. The air was crisp and fragrant with wildflowers, and the streets were lined with quaint shops and cafes. Emily immediately pulled out her map, pointing out a cozy inn where they would stay, and John could see the excitement in her eyes. It was contagious. After settling in, they decided to take a short walk to explore the town. Lily skipped ahead, twirling in her sundress, while Max ran after her, both squealing with delight at the novelty of the cobblestone streets and colorful storefronts. John held Emily's hand as they strolled slowly, savoring the calm and beauty around them. They stopped at a small bakery, the scent of fresh bread and pastries enveloping them. Emily bought cinnamon rolls for the kids and coffee for herself, while John grabbed a chocolate croissant, sharing bites with Lily and Max. Sitting on a bench outside, they watched the town's gentle rhythm, the way locals greeted each other, the soft chime of a nearby bell, the lazy swirl of clouds over the mountains. In that moment, John felt a profound sense of peace. The stress of work, bills, and daily obligations seemed distant, almost unreal. Here, with Emily by his side and the kids laughing in the sunshine, everything felt simple, meaningful, and perfect. He realized that this trip wasn't just about seeing new places. It was about cherishing the family they had built together. The next morning, the Sanders family set out early for their first mountain hike. The sky was a clear, brilliant blue, and the sunlight filtered through the tall pines, casting dappled shadows along the trail. Emily carried a small backpack with snacks and water, while John carried a map and a sense of quiet anticipation. Lily and Max ran ahead, their laughter echoing through the trees like music. The trail wound upward, revealing stunning views at every turn, sparkling streams, wildflowers in vibrant colors, and peaks that seemed to touch the sky. John found himself pausing often, not out of exhaustion, but out of awe. He watched Emily point out a particularly beautiful bird and explain its habits to Lily and Max, her face alight with curiosity and joy. They stopped for a picnic beside a small waterfall, the water gurgling over rocks and misting their cheeks. John helped Max balance on the slippery stones while Emily and Lily spread out the blanket and unpacked sandwiches. The family ate together, chatting, laughing, and occasionally falling silent just to take in the serenity around them. John felt a warmth spread through him, not from the sun, but from the simple happiness of being together, fully present. Every worry seemed trivial compared to the laughter of his children and the calm, steady presence of Emily by his side. In that moment, he understood that the true magic of travel wasn't the sights or the novelty. It was the way it allowed them to slow down, notice each other, and reconnect as a family. As they continued along the trail, Max spotted a narrow path leading off the main route. "Look, Daddy, a secret path," he shouted, pointing eagerly. John hesitated for a moment. He didn't want to risk getting lost, but Emily gave him an encouraging smile. "It'll be fun. Let's explore a little," she said. The detour turned out to be magical. The path led them through a small grove of ancient pines, their trunks wide and gnarled, and opened onto a hidden clearing where sunlight danced on the grass. A small, crystal-clear stream ran through it, and Lily immediately took off her shoes to dip her toes in the cool water. Max followed, squealing as the water splashed around him. John and Emily watched their children with quiet joy, their hands intertwined as they soaked in the unexpected beauty of the place. "I love these little surprises," Emily said softly, resting her head on John's shoulder. He nodded, feeling a swell of gratitude for her optimism and for the life they had built together. They spent the next hour skipping stones across the stream, telling each other stories, and taking photos to remember the moment. John laughed harder than he had in weeks when Max attempted a heroic leap across the water and landed with a splash, and Emily's laughter mingled with his, echoing in the grove. By the time they headed back to the main trail, John realized something profound. These spontaneous moments, the ones they hadn't planned, were the ones that would stay with them forever. And in that realization, he felt the deep, steady happiness of a family truly connected. After their morning adventure in the mountains, the Sanders family returned to the town, tired but exhilarated. The streets were lively now, with locals opening shops and cafes, and the smell of fresh bread and roasted coffee drifting through the air. Emily suggested they explore before lunch, and John agreed, eager to see the town through his children's eyes. Lily and Max ran ahead, stopping at every colorful storefront to peer inside. John and Emily followed slowly, taking in the details: handcrafted jewelry, painted signs, and flowers spilling from window boxes. Emily paused at a small art gallery, and John watched as she knelt to show Lily a painting of a mountain sunrise. "See, sweetie? It's like the mountains we hiked today," she whispered. Lily nodded, her eyes wide with wonder. They stopped for lunch at a rustic cafe with outdoor seating. John ordered sandwiches while Emily picked a basket of pastries to share. The family sat together on a wooden bench, enjoying their meal under the warm sun. Max told a story about a squirrel he had befriended near the trail, and Lily performed a dramatic reenactment of her favorite part of the hike. John and Emily laughed, exchanging a glance that said everything. They were exactly where they wanted to be. As they finished their meal, John felt a deep contentment. This wasn't just a vacation. It was a living memory in the making, a perfect mosaic of laughter, learning, and love. He realized that these small, shared moments, walking slowly through town, tasting new foods, noticing the world together, were what made their family strong. As the sun began its slow descent behind the mountains, the Sanders family drove to a nearby lake that Emily had read about. The water glistened like molten silver in the fading light, and the surrounding trees reflected in perfect symmetry. John parked the car, and they walked along the shoreline, their footsteps crunching softly on the pebbles. Lily and Max immediately ran ahead, picking up smooth stones and tossing them into the water, watching the ripples spread. Emily and John strolled hand in hand, talking quietly about the day and the plans for tomorrow. The soft sound of the lake, mingled with the kids' laughter, created a peaceful, almost magical atmosphere. Emily suggested they try paddleboarding, and John agreed, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. Soon, they were all on the water, Lily wobbling but giggling, Max squealing with delight at every tiny splash, and Emily steady and confident beside John. He couldn't help but laugh when Max lost his balance and tumbled gently into the lake, emerging with a triumphant grin. As the sky turned shades of pink and orange, the family sat on the shore, wrapped in towels and each other's warmth. John looked at Emily, her hair catching the last light of the sun, and felt a wave of gratitude. These were the moments he wanted to remember, the quiet, unspoken ones that carried the weight of happiness without needing any grand gestures. By the time they returned to their inn, the kids were exhausted but content, and John felt a profound sense of peace. Their family, together and laughing, was the heart of the adventure, and he knew that these shared experiences were shaping memories that would last a lifetime. The next morning, the Sanders family discovered that the town was hosting a small spring festival. Colorful banners fluttered in the breeze, and the streets were lined with stalls selling handmade crafts, local foods, and fresh flowers. Emily's eyes sparkled as she guided the family through the festival, excited for the experiences that awaited. Lily and Max were drawn to a face-painting booth. John watched as Emily held Max's hand, while a painter transformed him into a tiny tiger. Lily insisted on getting a butterfly on her cheek, flapping her arms with delight as the painter finished. John couldn't help but smile at their joy. It was infectious, filling the morning with laughter. They sampled homemade pastries, fresh lemonade, and honey from local beekeepers. Emily chatted with vendors, learning about the town's history, while John encouraged the kids to try small games and activities, cheering them on with each success. A small group of musicians played lively tunes, and before long, John found himself dancing awkwardly with Emily while the children clapped and laughed nearby. The festival brought a sense of community and warmth that the family hadn't anticipated. Strangers smiled at them, the children's laughter mingled with the music, and Emily leaned against John, whispering how happy she was to be sharing this experience with him. John felt a deep gratitude. This trip wasn't just about sights or adventures. It was about connection, both within their family and with the world around them. By the time they returned to their inn, the family carried the cheerful energy of the festival with them, knowing that these spontaneous moments of joy were the true treasures of their trip. In the late afternoon, John suggested they take a scenic drive to a viewpoint he had spotted on a map. The road wound through rolling hills and dense forests, each turn revealing a new glimpse of the mountains beyond. Emily navigated, occasionally pointing out deer grazing along the roadside, and Lily and Max pressed their faces against the windows, eyes wide with wonder. When they reached the hidden viewpoint, the sun was low in the sky, casting a warm golden glow over the valley below. The family stepped out of the car, and a gentle breeze rustled through the trees. John spread a blanket on the soft grass, and they all sat together, taking in the breathtaking panorama. Emily leaned her head on John's shoulder, whispering, This is perfect." John felt a lump in his throat, realizing she was right. The kids explored nearby rocks and wildflowers, occasionally returning to show their parents a particularly pretty blossom or an oddly shaped stone. As the sun dipped behind the peaks, the sky erupted in shades of orange, pink, and purple, reflecting on the small lake far below. John watched Emily's face in the soft light, the kids laughing nearby, and felt a profound sense of peace. It was a moment that needed no words, just the shared understanding that life, when slowed down and lived together, was beautiful. When they finally packed up to leave, John silently promised himself that he would remember this view, this laughter, and this connection for the rest of his life. Back at the inn, the Sanders family settled into their rooms, tired but exhilarated from the day's adventures. Emily unpacked a small basket of local treats she had bought at the festival, while John helped the kids into pajamas, their faces still flushed with excitement. They gathered in the common lounge of the inn, sitting by a crackling fireplace. John poured hot chocolate for the children and coffee for Emily, while the kids chattered endlessly about the sunset, the stream, and the festival games. Emily listened with delight, occasionally adding small observations that made the stories even funnier. John leaned back in his chair, watching the warmth of the fire reflect in their faces. He felt an immense gratitude for these quiet moments, realizing that the simple routines of togetherness, sharing stories, sipping warm drinks, feeling the fire's heat, were just as meaningful as the day's grand adventures. Before bedtime, they tucked Lily and Max into the same room, Emily reading a story while John kissed their foreheads. The children's sleepy murmurs and soft giggles filled the room. As John and Emily finally stood in the doorway, holding hands, they shared a quiet smile. No words were needed to express the happiness and love that enveloped them. That night, John lay awake for a few moments, listening to the soft sounds of the inn and the occasional murmur from their children. He felt a calm certainty. This trip was shaping into a collection of memories that would forever remind them of the joy of simply being together. The next morning dawned bright and clear, the sky a perfect shade of blue. After a hearty breakfast at the inn, the Sanders family headed to a nearby mountain lake for a canoeing adventure. Emily packed snacks and water, John secured life jackets for the kids, and the children buzzed with excitement, hardly able to contain themselves. They pushed off from the dock, the water smooth and glassy, reflecting the surrounding peaks like a mirror. John paddled while Emily guided Lily and Max, teaching them how to hold their small paddles and push gently against the water. Lily squealed in delight when a fish leapt near the canoe, and Max splashed water playfully, sending droplets sparkling in the morning sun. As they glided across the lake, the family marveled at the serenity around them. Eagles circled high above, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of pine and wildflowers. Emily pointed out a hidden cove, and John steered them toward it. The secluded spot felt like a secret world, just for them. They paused to enjoy a small picnic by the water's edge, the children skipping stones while John and Emily shared a quiet moment, sipping coffee and taking in the beauty around them. John realized once again how these simple, shared experiences, the laughter, the learning, the quiet appreciation, were the true treasures of family life. By the time they paddled back to the dock, everyone was sun-kissed, smiling, and slightly tired. John felt a deep contentment, knowing that the day had brought them even closer together. This trip was shaping into a tapestry of perfect, unforgettable moments. After their morning on the lake, the Sanders family drove to a nearby mountain village known for its charming streets and local artisans. The village felt like stepping into a storybook. Cobblestone lanes, flower boxes spilling over balconies, and the distant sound of church bells marking the hour. Emily led the way, excited to explore. She admired handmade pottery and pointed out delicate woven fabrics to Lily, explaining how each piece told a story of the village's history. Max was drawn to a small toy shop, where he picked out a tiny wooden car, and John helped him examine the intricate craftsmanship. They stopped at a local bakery for fresh pastries, enjoying them on a bench in the sun while watching villagers go about their day. Emily chatted with a friendly baker, learning how he crafted his famous honey tarts, and John joined in, asking the kids what they wanted to remember most from the village. Lily insisted on the flowers, Max on the toys, and John and Emily exchanged amused, knowing glances at their children's earnest enthusiasm. As they wandered further, a small group of musicians began to play traditional tunes in the town square. Emily encouraged the kids to dance, and soon John found himself joining in, laughing as Lily twirled and Max stomped along to the rhythm. The village, with its simple charm and welcoming spirit, felt alive and joyful, a perfect setting for family memories. By the time they left the village, the Sanders family carried with them more than souvenirs. They carried the warmth, laughter, and wonder of a place that celebrated life in all its small, beautiful details. After exploring the village, Emily suggested a short hike she had read about, a trail leading to a hidden waterfall just beyond the tree-line. The children groaned at first, tired from the morning, but quickly perked up when John promised they would see a real waterfall like in the movies. The trail was shaded and cool, lined with ferns and mossy rocks. Birds chirped overhead, and the sound of running water grew louder as they approached. Lily skipped ahead, pointing excitedly at every flower and butterfly, while Max tried to mimic her energy, tripping over roots but bouncing back with laughter. Finally, they rounded a bend, and the waterfall appeared, a cascading veil of crystal-clear water tumbling into a sparkling pool below. The sunlight caught the spray, creating tiny rainbows that danced above the water. The kids gasped, and John felt a wave of awe himself. Even in all his life's travels, nature's beauty never failed to amaze him. Emily guided Lily and Max closer, showing them how to feel the cool mist on their faces and touch the smooth stones along the edge. John snapped a few photos, capturing their wide-eyed wonder and the serene backdrop. They all took a moment to simply sit and listen. The roar of the waterfall, the rustle of leaves, the soft laughter of his family blending perfectly with nature's music. As they hiked back down the trail, soaked a little from the spray but glowing with joy, John realized once more that these shared adventures, discovering hidden gems, marveling at simple wonders, and exploring together, were the heart of what made their family so strong and connected. After the waterfall hike, John suggested they take a detour to a nearby hill that offered sweeping views of the valley below. Emily eagerly agreed, imagining a scenic picnic, and the kids were instantly excited by the idea of climbing to the top. The path was gentle but winding, and Lily and Max raced ahead, stopping occasionally to collect wildflowers and interesting rocks. Emily walked beside John, leaning against his shoulder as they chatted quietly about the day and the beauty surrounding them. John felt a calm warmth, appreciating these small moments of closeness amidst the adventure. At the top, the hill opened up to a panoramic view of the valley, rolling green fields, sparkling streams, and distant mountains fading into the horizon. They spread a blanket and unpacked sandwiches, fruit, and a small bottle of sparkling juice for a celebratory toast. Lily insisted on making a cheers with their juice cups, and even Max followed her lead, giggling as their cups clinked. They spent the next hour exploring the hilltop, taking pictures, skipping stones into a small stream, and lying back on the blanket to watch clouds drift lazily across the sky. John watched Emily's face as she laughed at Max's exaggerated storytelling, feeling a surge of gratitude. These simple, shared experiences, the laughter, the quiet reflection, the freedom to be together, were the essence of their perfect trip. By the time they packed up to descend, John felt a deep contentment. Every hill climbed, every hidden stream, and every shared laugh was a thread in the tapestry of memories they were weaving together, memories that would last far longer than the trip itself. That evening, after a warm dinner at the inn, John suggested they take a short walk to a nearby open field for stargazing. The kids groaned at first, thinking it might be boring, but Emily promised it would be magical, and soon everyone bundled up in jackets and scarves for the crisp mountain air. The field was quiet, the sky above a deep, velvety blue. Stars twinkled in breathtaking clarity, far brighter than anything they'd ever seen in the city. Lily gasped as she spotted a particularly bright one, pointing it out to Max, who immediately claimed it as their star. John held Emily's hand, both of them marveling at the vastness of the universe and the serenity it brought. They lay on a blanket, the kids snuggled between them, counting constellations and making up stories about the stars. Emily whispered to John about the myths she remembered from childhood, and he found himself smiling at the wonder in her eyes. Every so often, a shooting star streaked across the sky, eliciting squeals of delight from Lily and Max. John felt a profound sense of connection, not just to his family, but to the world around them. The stresses of everyday life seemed distant and insignificant under the vast expanse of the night sky. In this quiet moment, surrounded by love and beauty, he realized that the simplest things, laughter, wonder, togetherness, were what truly made life extraordinary. As they headed back to the inn, the kids' sleepy chatter filled the air, and John squeezed Emily's hand, silently thanking her for sharing this perfect evening with him. The next morning, the Sanders family set out for a nearby national park, renowned for its wildlife and scenic trails. Emily had packed snacks, binoculars, and a small field guide to animals, while John ensured they had sturdy shoes and plenty of water. Lily and Max were practically vibrating with excitement, eager to spot animals and explore the trails. The park greeted them with towering pines, sun-dappled paths, and the distant sound of rushing water. John led the way on a winding trail that promised both views and wildlife sightings, while Emily followed with the kids, pointing out interesting plants and insects. Lily squealed when she spotted a chipmunk darting along a log, and Max tried to mimic its quick movements, tripping over a root but laughing at himself. As they climbed higher, the family encountered deer grazing in a sunlit clearing. Emily whispered instructions to the kids about staying quiet, and John helped them get closer without startling the animals. The moment felt almost sacred, the stillness of nature, punctuated by the soft breathing of his children and the occasional rustle of leaves. They paused for lunch near a small waterfall, sharing sandwiches and fruit while listening to the water tumble over rocks. John watched Emily interact with the kids, her patience and curiosity shining through, and felt a swell of gratitude for the partnership and love they shared. These moments, simple yet profound, were the essence of why he cherished family adventures so deeply. By the end of the day, everyone was tired but exhilarated. The national park had offered them beauty, discovery, and laughter, all woven together in a perfect day that would linger in their memories for years to come. On the drive back from the national park, John spotted a scenic overlook with a breathtaking view of the valley below. He pulled the car over, and Emily immediately suggested an impromptu picnic. The kids cheered, thrilled at the idea of eating outdoors once again. They spread a blanket on the soft grass near the edge of the overlook, careful to stay back from the drop, and unpacked sandwiches, apples, and a thermos of lemonade. The valley stretched out before them, a patchwork of green forests, meandering streams, and distant mountains glowing in the late afternoon sun. Lily and Max ran a short distance along the overlook, their laughter echoing in the crisp air, while Emily and John leaned back on the blanket, holding hands and watching the children explore. Emily leaned her head against John's shoulder, murmuring, "Days like this feel endless." John smiled, feeling the same. They ate slowly, savoring the food and the moment. John snapped a few photos, not just of the landscape, but of Emily laughing, of the kids mid-jump, of the simple joy radiating from each of them. The overlook felt like a perfect pause in time, a place where worries melted away and only the present mattered. As they packed up to leave, John felt a deep, quiet happiness. The trip had been full of planned adventures and unexpected delights, but it was moments like this, simple, shared, and beautiful, that made it truly unforgettable. After their scenic picnic, the Sanders family drove a short distance to a wide, sunlit meadow that Emily had spotted on a map. The grass was tall and dotted with wildflowers, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of earth and blossoms. The children ran ahead, kicking up the grass, their laughter ringing out across the open space. John joined them, chasing Max in a playful game of tag, while Emily twirled Lily into the air, laughing as the wind caught her hair. They played simple games, hide-and-seek among the taller grasses, races to see who could reach the other side of the meadow first, and even a few improvised somersault contests. Every laugh, every tumble, every shared smile felt like another precious memory etched into the trip. After a while, they lay on the grass, looking up at the sky. Emily pointed out clouds shaped like animals, and the kids shouted their interpretations. Max insisted one was a dragon, while Lily claimed a fluffy bunny. John smiled at their imagination, feeling a profound sense of joy and gratitude. In the golden light of the afternoon, John realized that these carefree moments, running, playing, and simply being together, were the essence of their family bond. There were no grand gestures needed, no perfect plans, just the simple joy of presence and connection. By the time they left the meadow, the children were tired and happy, and John felt a quiet contentment settle in his chest. These unplanned, joyful afternoons were shaping the trip into something truly magical. Later that afternoon, the Sanders family arrived at a serene mountain lake, its surface smooth like glass and reflecting the surrounding peaks. Emily unpacked a small bag of snacks and towels while John helped the kids dip their toes into the cool water. Lily squealed at the refreshing chill, and Max immediately began searching for the perfect skipping stones along the shore. John and Emily took a moment to simply stand together, holding hands and taking in the beauty around them. The mountains mirrored in the lake, the gentle ripple of water, and the soft murmur of wildlife nearby. It felt peaceful, a perfect pause in the day's adventures. Soon, the kids were fully immersed in play, tossing stones, making small splashes, and challenging each other to skipping contests. John joined in, showing Max how to flick a stone just right, while Emily cheered them on, her laughter mingling with theirs. At one point, Lily dared John to try skipping a stone across the lake, and after a few comical attempts, he finally succeeded, earning cheers from the entire family. As the sun began to dip lower in the sky, the family sat on the shore, munching on snacks and watching the golden light dance on the water. John felt a warm, steady happiness. Moments like this, the playful laughter, the shared triumphs, the quiet beauty, were the heart of what made their trip so special. By the time they packed up to leave, John knew that these simple joys, skipping stones, laughing together, and soaking in nature, were the memories that would linger far longer than any planned sightseeing or grand adventures. As evening approached, John suggested a slow drive along a winding mountain road to watch the sunset from a quieter spot. Emily agreed, and the kids eagerly pressed their faces to the windows, scanning the forested hills and glimmering streams below. The car hummed along the road, filled with soft music, laughter, and the occasional commentary from Lily and Max about shapes in the clouds. Eventually, John spotted a small clearing off the side of the road, a quiet meadow bathed in golden light. He pulled over, and the family stepped out, greeted by the gentle hum of crickets and the sweet scent of wildflowers. Emily led the kids toward a patch of soft grass, where they rolled, chased, and twirled, their laughter echoing through the hills. John and Emily stood nearby, holding hands and watching their children play. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows and painting the sky in brilliant oranges, pinks, and purples. John took a deep breath, letting the calm of the meadows settle over him. This is perfect," he whispered to Emily. She smiled, squeezing his hand, and they both felt the quiet magic of being fully present with each other and their children. As darkness slowly fell, fireflies began to flicker around the meadow, their tiny lights adding a twinkle to the night. The family lingered for a while, simply enjoying the moment, before returning to the car, hearts full and spirits light. John knew that these unscripted, peaceful moments, discovering hidden places, sharing laughter, and feeling connected, were the true essence of their perfect trip. Back at the inn, the Sanders family settled into a cozy dinner in the rustic dining room. The warm glow of hanging lanterns and the scent of freshly baked bread created an inviting atmosphere. Emily had reserved a table near the window, giving them a view of the moonlit mountains beyond. Lily and Max were full of stories from the day, the skipping stones, the meadow, and the fireflies. John listened, laughing along with them, while Emily chimed in with little observations and anecdotes, making the children giggle even more. The kids' laughter, bright and carefree, filled the room and reminded John of the simple joys that made life meaningful. Over dessert, Emily and John shared a quiet moment, holding hands across the table. "I love how every day here feels like a new adventure," Emily said softly. John nodded, feeling the same. "It's not just the places we see," he replied. "It's how we experience them together." The children eventually grew sleepy, and Emily carried Lily to their room while John followed with Max. After tucking them in and reading a short bedtime story, John and Emily returned to the dining area, sipping tea and reflecting on the day. John felt a deep sense of gratitude, grateful for the shared experiences, the laughter, the love, and the simple, unhurried pace of the trip. That night, as they finally retired to their room, John felt a quiet joy settle over him. These were the moments he wanted to remember forever, the perfect blend of adventure, connection, and family love. The next morning, John and Emily quietly woke the kids before dawn, eager to catch the sunrise from a nearby mountaintop. Wrapped in jackets and scarves, they set off under a sky just beginning to lighten with soft shades of pink and lavender. Lily and Max were still a bit sleepy, but the promise of a magical view kept their spirits high. The trail was steep in places, and John encouraged the children to take it slow, holding Max's hand while Emily guided Lily. As they climbed, the first rays of sunlight began to break over the peaks, illuminating the valley below. The world felt hushed and sacred, the only sounds being their footsteps and the occasional chirp of a morning bird. When they reached the summit, the sight took everyone's breath away. The sun had risen fully now, spilling golden light across the mountains, forests, and distant lakes. Emily wrapped her arms around John, whispering how beautiful it all was, while Lily and Max ran to the edge of the viewpoint, pointing out sparkling rivers and tiny houses like toys far below. John felt a profound sense of awe and gratitude. Here, above the world, with his family by his side, everything else faded. The stress, the routines, the constant rush of life. What mattered most was this: laughter, shared wonder, and the quiet, steady love that held them together. As they made their way back down, the children's chatter about the sunrise and the mountains filled the trail, and John smiled, knowing that this early morning adventure would be etched in all of their memories forever. After a quick breakfast, the Sanders family drove to a nearby river renowned for its calm waters and scenic beauty. Emily packed a small bag with snacks and extra clothes, while John carried a simple fishing kit he had brought along. Lily and Max buzzed with excitement, eager to try their hands at fishing and explore the riverbank. The river flowed gently, lined with smooth stones and shaded by tall trees. John helped the kids cast their small lines, patiently showing them how to hold the rods and watch for the slightest tug. Lily squealed with delight when she felt a tiny nibble, and Max cheered loudly when his line barely moved, insisting it was a really big fish. Emily wandered along the bank with Lily, pointing out interesting rocks and leaves, while John guided Max in skipping stones and observing little fish darting near the shore. At one point, the family paused to picnic on a sun-dappled patch of grass, sharing sandwiches and lemonade while listening to the soothing sounds of the river. By the afternoon, the children were tired but thrilled with their new skills and discoveries. John felt a quiet pride, watching them explore nature with curiosity and joy. Emily leaned against him, smiling, and whispered, "Days like this are what we'll always remember." John nodded, realizing that these small, hands-on adventures, simple yet meaningful, were shaping memories that would last a lifetime. As they packed up to leave the river, John felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The laughter, exploration, and quiet learning moments had made the day perfect, and he knew the family bond had grown even stronger through shared experiences. The following morning, the Sanders family arrived at a nearby ranch that offered scenic horseback rides. Emily had arranged for a gentle trail suitable for the kids, and John felt a mix of excitement and nostalgia. He hadn't ridden a horse in years. Lily and Max bounced with anticipation, eager to meet their new equine companions. The family was paired with calm, friendly horses. John was assigned a sturdy brown mare named Daisy. Emily received a gentle white horse named Luna, and the kids were matched with two smaller ponies. With the help of the ranch guides, everyone climbed into the saddles, the children's nervous excitement turning quickly into giggles of joy. They rode along winding trails through tall pines, the soft sound of hooves on the dirt path blending with birdsong. The kids laughed every time their ponies wobbled slightly, and Emily kept her arm around Lily, whispering encouragements. John smiled at Max, helping him stay steady and teaching him how to guide his pony gently. The highlight came when the trail opened to a wide meadow, sunlight streaming through the trees and illuminating wildflowers. The family slowed, letting the horses graze while they took photos and marveled at the scenery. John felt a sense of peace and wonder, knowing that these moments, simple, shared, and full of discovery, were the very essence of family adventure. As they returned to the ranch, tired but exhilarated, the children chattered about every detail of the ride, while John and Emily exchanged a quiet, satisfied glance. This horseback journey was another unforgettable thread in the tapestry of their perfect trip. After the horseback ride, Emily suggested visiting a nearby meadow known for its wildflowers. The kids' eyes lit up at the idea, and John followed, eager to see their excitement. The field was alive with color: purple lupins, golden daisies, and delicate bluebells swaying gently in the breeze. Lily and Max ran ahead, picking flowers and making small bouquets, while John and Emily walked slowly, holding hands and soaking in the vibrant beauty around them. Emily suggested they create a little nature craft using the flowers and some smooth stones they found along the path. The children eagerly agreed, arranging petals and stones into small designs on a flat rock. John helped Max carefully place each flower, while Emily guided Lily in crafting a tiny flower crown she proudly wore. They laughed at their imperfect creations, but the joy of creating together made every flaw feel perfect. The family paused frequently to take photos, capture the colors, and simply enjoy being in the moment. As the sun dipped lower, casting golden light across the meadow, John felt a deep sense of contentment. These quiet, creative moments, exploring, making, laughing, were just as meaningful as the grand adventures they'd experienced. Emily squeezed his hand, whispering, "I love how we always make memories together, no matter what we do." John smiled, knowing that she was right. The heart of this trip wasn't the destinations, but the shared experiences that brought them closer as a family. That evening, the Sanders family gathered around a small campfire near their inn. The sky was a deep navy, dotted with stars, and the faint smell of pine filled the crisp mountain air. Emily unpacked marshmallows, chocolate, and graham crackers while John carefully tended the fire, making sure it crackled just right for roasting. Lily and Max eagerly skewered marshmallows and held them over the flames, laughing when a few caught fire and had to be quickly blown out. Emily and John joined in, sharing bites of gooey s'mores and savoring the warmth of the fire against the cool night. The kids took turns telling stories, some true, some wildly imaginative, while John and Emily listened, smiling and laughing along. After the snacks, they sat quietly for a while, watching sparks rise into the night sky. Emily rested her head on John's shoulder, and he wrapped his arm around her, feeling the calm and completeness of the moment. This is what I'll always remember," John whispered. Emily nodded, her eyes reflecting the firelight. "Me too." The family lingered by the fire until the children's yawns became too frequent, and then John helped them back to their room, tucking them in under warm blankets. That night, the crackling of the fire and the soft murmurs of the children's sleep created a perfect soundtrack to a day full of laughter, creativity, and togetherness. John lay awake for a few moments, reflecting on the day. Each small joy, crafting in the meadow, storytelling by the fire, the gentle night air, was another thread in the tapestry of an unforgettable family trip. The next morning, John suggested a slow drive to a quiet mountain overlook for one last family adventure before checking out. Emily eagerly agreed, and the kids were thrilled at the idea of exploring one more hidden gem. The car wound through forested hills, streams glinting in the early sunlight, and the family marveled at the tranquility of the morning. When they arrived at the overlook, the view was breathtaking, a sweeping panorama of mountains, valleys, and distant lakes, bathed in golden sunlight. Lily and Max ran ahead, exploring rocks and small flower patches, while John and Emily walked slowly, hand in hand, taking in the serenity. They spread a blanket on the soft grass and shared a small breakfast Emily had packed: pastries, fresh fruit, and juice. The kids excitedly pointed out every bird and butterfly, while John encouraged them to notice the shapes of the mountains and the patterns of clouds above. Emily captured candid photos of the family, freezing the joy and wonder of the moment forever. John felt a profound sense of gratitude as he watched his family together, happy, curious, and connected. This final overlook wasn't just a scenic stop, it was a perfect reflection of the trip itself, moments of awe, laughter, and togetherness that would stay with them long after they returned home. Before heading back to the inn to check out, the Sanders family took a slow, quiet walk along a forested trail near the overlook. The morning air was crisp, filled with the scent of pine and wildflowers, and the sunlight filtered softly through the trees. Lily and Max wandered ahead, occasionally stopping to examine an interesting rock or flower, while John and Emily followed at a leisurely pace, holding hands. They didn't rush or talk much, there was no need. The gentle sounds of nature and the occasional laughter of the children created a peaceful rhythm that wrapped around them. Emily rested her head on John's shoulder for a moment, whispering, "I don't want this trip to end." He squeezed her hand gently, sharing the sentiment. John looked at his family, the bright eyes of his children, Emily's serene smile, and the beauty of the world around them, and felt a quiet, deep happiness. These final moments weren't filled with grand adventures or dramatic sights, but with calm presence, connection, and reflection. They were perfect in their simplicity, a reminder of the real magic of the trip, being together. As they turned to walk back toward the inn, John silently promised himself that he would carry the peace, joy, and togetherness of this morning, and the entire trip, with him forever. After their quiet morning walk, the Sanders family returned to the inn to pack up, Emily carefully folded souvenirs, snacks, and little keepsakes from their adventures, while John loaded the car. Lily and Max busied themselves with their favorite small toys, occasionally glancing out the window at the mountains they had come to love. Before leaving, they all paused on the inn's porch for one last look. The mountains, glowing softly in the morning light, seemed to bid them farewell. John felt a mixture of gratitude and nostalgia. The trip was ending, but the memories they had made would last a lifetime. During the drive home, the family chatted about their favorite moments: the waterfall, the meadow, the horseback ride, and the hidden overlook. Max insisted that the fireflies were the best, while Lily couldn't stop talking about the flowers they had found. Emily reached over and squeezed John's hand, smiling. "This trip, it was perfect," she said softly. John nodded, feeling the truth of her words resonate deep in his heart. As the car wound down the mountain roads, John looked around at his family, feeling a profound sense of connection, love, and fulfillment. The journey wasn't just about the places they visited. It was about the laughter, the shared experiences, and the joy of simply being together. Back home, the Sanders family unpacked slowly, still savoring the warmth and memories of their trip. Photos lined the table, souvenirs reminded them of small adventures, and every item seemed to carry a story. Lily and Max chattered excitedly about when they could go on another adventure, while John and Emily shared quiet smiles, feeling a deep, shared satisfaction. John reflected on the trip as he watched his family. It wasn't the grand vistas, the waterfalls, or even the horseback rides that had made it perfect. It was the togetherness. The laughter shared in quiet meadows, the awe at hidden waterfalls, the calm evenings by the fire, and the playful mornings on the lake. All of it had woven an unbreakable bond between them. He realized that a perfect trip wasn't measured by checklists or famous landmarks, but by the quality of connection, the joy of shared experiences, and the presence of love in every moment. The children's laughter, Emily's warmth, and the peace he felt being fully present with his family were treasures far greater than any souvenir. John silently promised himself to carry this lesson forward, to value moments over plans, connection over perfection, and love over everything else. And he knew, without a doubt, that these memories would remain in their hearts forever, a reminder that the simplest, most heartfelt experiences are often the most unforgettable. The trip had ended, but the sense of wonder, joy, and family unity it fostered would continue to guide them, reminding them always of the magic found in simply being together.